Welcome to the Southern California Baseball Preview presented by the Southern California News Group and the San Diego Union-Tribune. Please welcome Senior Editor and former sports writer Todd Harmonson.
Hi, thanks, Caroline, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this Southern California Baseball Preview. We're going to be bringing you the beat writers who cover the Padres, Angels, and Dodgers for the San Diego Union-Tribune, Southern California News Group. And really, this is an exciting time. Just coming off of the World Baseball Classic. Great, exciting finish to that. Opening day is a week away. So what better time to get together now and talk about baseball? This is a fun treat because we've got writers who are in Arizona at spring training to bring you the insight that they've gained from their years of coverage, as well as the time they've been there just recently. Each has a lot of experience, and I think we're in for a treat tonight. So Kevin Acee, Jeff Fletcher, and Bill Plunkett are on with us. They're going to be fielding some of your questions. We got some in advance, which is really cool, but there's going to be an opportunity for you to also send questions in tonight. So please use the Q&A function here on Zoom, and we'll be collecting those questions, and I'll be asking them along the way. I want to open with some quick introductions of our writers and kind of take it around the horn with them. And I'm going to start with Kevin Acee. I want to get a sense of, how long you guys have been on the beat? What do you like about it? And the question I prepped you for was, what ballpark do you enjoy visiting the most on the beat? So Kevin, from the Union-Tribune, covers the Padres.
I've been back on baseball since 2018. You may have heard that the Chargers left San Diego for Los Angeles. So I had taken quite a bit of time to be home with the family and cover the NFL. At my wife's behest. She's a smart woman. So my kids grew up. She kicked me out of the house to get back on baseball. I love baseball. I love the grind. The NFL, you got to come up with stories. And then Sunday's this huge day. Baseball's like, it's like a novel. It just unfolds and it's just page after page. And I love it. And as for my favorite ballpark, Pittsburgh. PNC Park is beautiful. The park itself is basic, but I honestly don't think you can beat sitting in that park and watching baseball. Pittsburgh is the most underrated city, I think, in the country, and it is absolutely beautiful.
That's one I haven't visited yet. My first game this season is going to be at Petco, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. That's definitely a favorite for me. All right, next up is Jeff Fletcher, who covers the Angels for SCNG. How's it going, Fletch?
Hey Todd, I'm doing well. Yeah, this is going to be my 14th season covering the Angels, and I've seen, let me add up the playoff wins I've covered, zero playoff wins. But I've seen a lot of cool stuff from Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, and that's been fun. I love baseball. I've always wanted to be a baseball writer ever since I was 14 years old, and I'm just really lucky that I get to do it all these years. And like Kevin, the grind of it is great. I like to know every single thing there is to know about one team. If I had to, cover a bunch of stuff, I would be lost. I don't know like anybody in the NFL, anybody in the NBA. I don't even know, I probably couldn't name like 12 players, but I do love baseball. And my favorite park is San Francisco. I'm not sure what they call it these days, but it's beautiful. You can look over the water, and it's just it's a great setting, I think, still.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that place. All right, and finally, our beat writer who's had the longest seasons of anyone the past couple of years. No Asia trip this year, though. We got Bill Plunkett, who covers the Dodgers for SCNG. Welcome, Bill.
Yeah, it's felt like a very long spring training because of the no Asia trip. We've had to stay in Arizona the whole time. I started at the Orange County Register back in '99 as the utility infielder on the sports staff, covering a little of everything, filling in for people, and started covering baseball full time in '03, '04. I have covered the Angels for a few years and the Dodgers for most of that. I like Kevin and Jeff said, I like baseball because of the day-to-dayness of it. I think it suits me more so than working on the same story for a month, and doing it that way. I actually enjoy deadline. I like deadline writing. I think I've become pretty good at it. As for the best ballparks, I grew up going to Tiger Stadium and mourn its loss. So I have a little affection for the old places like Wrigley Field and Fenway Park. But my favorite one to go to is also San Francisco. And I think that's partly biased because every time I go to San Francisco, it's for a Dodgers Giants series. And those are special. The crowd is hyped. It's pretty exciting. So that just adds to the environment there.
Very cool. Yeah, those games are always fun. All right. So we're going to do another quick lap around. And we'll start with Kevin again. Want to get a sense of what you've been seeing in spring training. What are some of the big changes with the Padres this year? What do you think are going to be the stories? There's been everything from new manager and Craig Stammen to some new names. What do you think? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, Craig is the big change because really it's the least turnover they've had in quite some time. AJ Preller, the president of baseball operations, makes changes like crazy, and he will this year. There's very little doubt. They don't have a lot of money now, but they're about to have a new owner. There's hope that at some point this season they can make some additions, because if you have a question about the Padres, it has to be in the starting rotation. You've got Nick Pivetta, Michael King, Randy Vasquez, and those are your only sure things. And Nick Pivetta was great last year. Michael King threw 72 innings. I think Randy Vasquez is a guy who's ascending, but he's still kind of an unknown. Joe Musgrove coming back from Tommy John surgery. He's not going to start the season. He's going to be on the IL. Not entirely unexpected that he would have a downtime, but it being at the beginning of the season is very troubling. The depth of the pitching. There is a guy named Walker Buehler who has made the team, not officially, but he has pitched very well. He's a very different pitcher if he's still on the team. When they face the Dodgers the first time, the Dodgers fans will be surprised at the guy they see. But that is the big question for the Padres is the rotation.
Yeah, it's going to be bizarre to see Buehler wearing Padres colors. Yeah, he's been elsewhere, and it's been an interesting journey. But for him to still have something left in the tank right now would be quite a story. Well, good. Let's go to Fletch. The Angels are also entering the season with a new manager. Like me, Cal State Fullerton alum and Kurt Suzuki. A lot of new faces too, and some old ones. What are the big storylines that you're seeing coming out of camp?
Well, the Angels are a whole team of, I dubbed them Camp Comeback at the beginning of the year, because they basically took everybody who had a really good year sometime in like 23 or 24, and then since fell off the map because they got hurt or just wasn't good anymore. And they said, hey, let's bring those guys in and maybe some of them will hit. And that's basically what they've been trying to do. So still too early to know if any of it's really going to work, but they have kind of limited funds because the TV situation has been very in flux with them. So they cut their payroll a lot. So they weren't really in the market for any of the big, marquee players. So they're pretty much hoping all these guys like Grayson Rodriguez is an example. Josh Lowe is an example. These guys were really good not too long ago, but then they've been hurt a lot since. So that's really their hope. And, we'll see if it works. So far it hasn't the last few years, but they do have enough players that should be good that you can kind of squint and say, hey, if all this goes right, they actually could surprise people. But the problem is if some things start to go wrong, if Mike Trout gets hurt, if Jorge Soler gets hurt, Yohan Moncada gets hurt, there's really nothing behind them. And then all of a sudden they look very thin. So they kind of have to cross their fingers and hope, but there is some hope.
And when you're looking at this team, you see that you've got a manager and a general manager both with 1 year. It's kind of a do something now, or big changes are coming, right?
Pretty much. I would assume that if they have a bad year, that they'll probably be looking for new people in both those roles.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It seemed like Perry kind of said that we're tied together. So,
Yeah.
all right, then let's go to Bill. Talk about a team that has seemed to have the answers the past couple of years. Obviously, won back-to-back World Series, has a manager, seems like a lock at this point for the Hall of Fame. And even the biggest weakness that they seem to have at the end of last season, the bullpen, has been addressed. What are the issues that they're facing other than, some could say, can you actually do it 3 in a row? But are there big things that you see that they've got to address still?
Yeah, well, it turns out ruining baseball is pretty boring because there are not a lot of issues here. When they came to camp, they didn't really know who their second baseman was going to be. They still don't. They're just going to play 3 or 4 guys there. Miggy Rojas, Santiago Espinal, maybe Hae-Sung Kim as a left-handed guy in the mix. The starting rotation, you could say there's a little uncertainty there because Blake Snell is just throwing bullpens, and I don't think you'll see him pitch a game until maybe mid to late May. But they're fine with that. They'll take 20 starts and be strong in October because that's everything this team does is focused towards October. Roki Sasaki has probably been the biggest question mark of the spring. Has not pitched well except when they sent him over to the backfields to terrorize single A hitters who'd never seen a split finger like his before. So teaser, I'm going to write about that tomorrow. I cornered Dave Roberts and Andrew Friedman and basically asked them why a guy with a 13.5 spring ERA has a lock on a rotation spot because they're saying he's going to open the season in the rotation. That's about the closest thing you get to drama in Dodgers camp this year.
My big question for you is, are you going to be able to make it back from Toronto in time to see Springsteen for his second show at the Forum?
I do have tickets, so please shout out to TSA and American Airlines. Help me get there. Yeah, that's the plan.
All right. Well, it should be a fun return to Toronto as well after all the drama there last year. I wonder if they've actually found any consolation that they didn't actually lose the World Series by inches. It was a foot is what baseball has said.
Oh yeah, that's much better.
Big difference, yeah. All right. I want to bring in a couple questions from readers, and I'm really glad people sent some in advance, and we've got some pouring in already. We're going to go to ownership issues. Go with to Kevin. There's definitely concern about what's going to happen with the Padres. Some people, and I can't imagine why they'd be concerned at all about somebody picking a team up from San Diego and moving them elsewhere. How are the Chargers anyway? So they want to know, are there any assurances? Have you been hearing more about any potential move? I know it couldn't happen until like 2031. And now it's down to what, 4 ownership groups potentially? So what are you hearing?
Yeah, there's 4 groups, and no, have not gotten any assurances from any of those groups. But it's not just night and day. It's like apples and bricks to compare the Chargers situation where they were in Qualcomm with their owner and the way that they dealt with the city and the impossibility of getting something built with public money, which the Spanos is needed, and the Padres, who were second in the major leagues in attendance last year, have been top 5 years in a row. Are again broke season ticket records. There's just not going to be another market like it. As you mentioned, the lease goes through at least 2031. There's options for 10 more years. They're not going to move because of this ownership change, and they're not going to move in the next 6 years. I don't think they're going to move as long as the team continues to invest in payroll. So it's just, and I absolutely understand the question. There should be probably a question every time a team changes ownership, and certainly in San Diego. But a part of the reason that this market is so great is because the Chargers left. That is a part of the reason you are selling San Diego in addition to selling the Padres.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you have it all to yourselves, why would you ever leave that? Plus, it's kind of nice down there. It's not like leaving a bad situation. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. On the ownership front, Fletch, we've got one reader who wanted you to rank where Artie is among the all-time worst owners. I'll not actually ask you that question, but what is the latest? You talked to Artie in his one spring appearance. Do you get any sense that a sale is even remotely possible?
I get zero indication that Artie is interested in selling right now. Aside from the fact that he mentioned that he's about to be 80 years old and you can't own the team forever. It really seems like he does want to own the team until he dies. And I think that he had that little moment a few years ago where he thought about selling it, and then maybe that was sort of like seeing what life would be like without it, and he decided he doesn't like that. So I know a lot of Angels fans don't want to hear that. Angels fans have been very frustrated by his ownership. Certainly, a lot of what has gone wrong with the Angels is because of decisions that he made. It's perfectly fair to be upset about that, but it's his team and he likes owning it. And I don't think that anybody's going to get it away from him unless something really dramatic changes.
All right, let's start with Bill on this one, and then I want Fletch and Kevin to weigh in on this as well. Will the Dodgers three-peat? Do you think what's the thing that could keep them from winning another one? So start with Bill.
Yeah, I think they can. I do think they will. There's a lot that can go wrong between now and then. The obvious thing is injuries, but my response to that is they had a ton of injuries the last 2 years and still won. I think they'll probably run away with the NL West, which means September can be devoted to resting their older players and getting ready for the postseason. The one thing that hangs over it, I think, is a catastrophic injury. I don't even want to think it into possibility, but that guy who does two things on the field, if he's subtracted from the mix, the outlook becomes very different. They are one of the older teams in baseball. Last year, their average position player age was the highest in baseball, and almost all those guys are back a year older. Freddie, Mookie, Teoscar, Max Muncy. So the possibility of catastrophic injury is higher, I guess. But as we sit here in March, I don't see anyone knocking them off the throne.
All right, Kevin, cover team in the same division. What do you think?
Couldn't agree more. I mean, Bill made some great points there that I was happy to hear him say, because it's kind of what I think of the Dodgers now. Like anything, the capricious nature of baseball once you get to October. So in terms of a three-peat, I mean, it's ludicrous to think they can't do it. Will they do it? I mean, it's the one sport I think probably where you would have a team that good, that loaded, and you would say, hey, maybe they won't, but because they have this team where, oh, Blake Snell's not starting the season. Nah, gosh, okay, we'll be okay. What, Shohei, he's not built up. Yeah, that's okay. It was all right. We got depth. They probably do something at the trade deadline. They have this team that is so built for October. And I know it hasn't always worked out. I know you only got those two plus the asterisk World Series and all these playoff appearances, but that sets them up so well for October. And it takes away just a lot of the things that other teams have to go through to get there. I think they are the overwhelming favorite to win the World Series.
Dodgers fans love when people invoke the asterisk, by the way.
If the Padres had won it, I would have said the same thing. I basically say the same thing all the time because that was the beginning of the Padres run of, this is the golden era of Padres baseball. 4 playoff appearances in 6 years. Look, if they hadn't had Mike Clevenger and Dinelson Lamet go down, they would have actually been competitive with the Dodgers in that series in Texas. And I say every time I compliment them for, this run, that was that was a fake season.
All right. And Fletch, what do you think? You see these guys across town. You covered Ohtani for a while.
Well, I saw the Angels play the Dodgers 6 times last year, and the Angels won all six. So, I mean, I don't know what are we talking about here? Seriously, obviously the Dodgers are the best team on paper, but the way the baseball playoffs work, with so many rounds and so many games and so many of the whim of a ball here and there, I think once you start October, if you're the best team and the favorite, you probably have a 25% chance of winning. So that makes it still pretty easy to not win. And the Dodgers had a great team all those other years before 2024 that they didn't win. They could have easily lost in 2024 to the Padres, with a few breaks, they could have lost in 2025. So there's just no way that you can say that any team, no matter how good they are, is that overwhelming of a favorite, just the way baseball is structured.
I mean,
I
you
will
can't
say
count
that
on a Miguel Rojas home run in the World Series.
Isaiah Kiner-Falefa being, out at the plate by 2 inches, that kind of thing.
It was a foot, a full foot.
And also you're absolutely right, Fletch, but 25% is an overwhelming favorite in baseball. And they just put themselves in position time and time again that no other team can count on. And I'm not getting into anything else. Don't read into what I'm saying. I'm just saying the facts are the Dodgers put themselves in that position, and then they are, by baseball standards, the overwhelming favorite once they get there. But that's the beauty of it. That is what makes baseball postseason the best, is that you don't know.
They're just lucky they haven't run into the Angels in the postseason yet, because clearly they can't beat them. So,
Well, we kind of hinted at it. The Dodgers and then all the big money being spent in baseball is kind of one of those big looming issues that we're seeing, and we're looking at a real possibility, if not certain, a strong likelihood of a lockout at the end of this season. With the enthusiasm around baseball right now, how damaging would that be if there's a lockout that goes on for a while? Any of you who wants to take that one?
Well, since the Dodgers are the ones ruining baseball, I'll go first. I think it'd be horribly short-sighted and really costly to baseball. But I see why the owners feel that way. They've tried to get a salary cap for most of our lifetimes, and the disparity between the haves and the have-nots has just gotten even worse and more exaggerated. From the Dodgers' point of view, on all the talk about a lockout and the salary cap idea, they don't care. They're not going to change their behavior. I believe it was Forbes that reported they have joined the Yankees as the only major league teams with over $1 billion in revenue. So they're spending it because they're making it. So that they're not going to modulate their behavior just on the possibility that they've irritated some other billionaires. It's their attitude is, if your neighbor has a better car, go buy a new one of your own. I mean, they're not going to change their behavior.
And they
my
should.
my feeling is that the owners, the whole thing about competitive balance is just a way for the owners to make this sound palatable, when really their issue is they want to make more money. Basically, the values of all their teams go way up if they have a salary cap. And I think if you could figure out a way to have them make a lot more money and still have the same team win the World Series every year, they'd sign up for that. So they don't really care about competitive balance. And I think, though, if they do have any serious work stoppages this time around, it would be incredibly hurtful to the sport. If you look at like 1994 and 95, when we last went through this, to a serious level, that was when the internet barely even existed. And if you look at what would happen now, if you took the sport off the map, to all the young people that are on TikTok and all that, and you would just lose all those people forever. That's the future of your business. So you can't just look back and say, oh, well, we did it in 1994 and it came back. I mean, it's not 1994 anymore.
They also were looking the other way on people doing steroids and hitting lots of home runs too. So that made the game exciting again. You guys made great points. that have merit, as particularly how absurd it would be for baseball to do this. Though, man, somehow they always come back. They always do. But yeah, I just think it would be. Uh, uh, I hate to say it, like I wouldn't want it to be. It's sort of my livelihood, and I love this game. But I just feel like it would just be almost a death blow. But they certainly don't think so. I also, like, just the two things can be true. Like, there is a lack of competitive balance. Like, there just is, and the Dodgers shouldn't change what they do, or none. Neither should the other teams that spend. But that doesn't mean that some other teams have the ability to do what they do. Now, there's also some owners that are absolutely just taking money and not even trying. And that's as big a problem as the Dodgers. I mean, or whoever, whatever you think the big problem is with this competitive balance, those owners, I mean, that's just, it's shameful what they've been doing and allowed to do for a long time. So the union has a lot of good arguments as well. I'm very fearful for baseball. We'll all survive, but I'm very fearful for baseball.
All right. Well, maybe this is a happier topic. We've got automated ball strike challenge system coming. Is this a good thing? It seems so far it's not going to lengthen games all that much. You might get calls right. Am I reading this wrong? What do you think?
I'm in favor of our new ABS overlords. I think it's great. I never understood this whole human error factor, and we want the human factor in that. No, get it right. We have the technology. Let's do it. Two quick points that I've noticed in spring training, and they did it. They used it last spring as well. Fans love it. It catches everyone's attention when there's a challenge, and the little graphic goes up on the scoreboard. Sorry, Fletch. There are scoreboards around spring training that have pictures now, moving pictures.
They just draw a little
And
picture in Tempe and say the ball was here.
people get so excited, and then when the call's overturned or confirmed, you get a big cheer. The other thing I've enjoyed about it is the distance. The little graphic will tell you the ball was 0.6 inches off the plate or whatever. Those are fun to see, just how precise this thing is and how precise major league players are, that they're missing by zero point 0.4 inches, and the batter can tell and challenge. We had one. I forget which team it was, but there was a 3-0 pitch that was called a strike, and the batter challenged. And when they put the graphic up, it was 4 inches off the plate. It was one of your 3-0, free strikes. So that was interesting. It'll be interesting to see how umpires react to this. They had an umpire, I think, up in a Surprise one day where he got challenged 3 times in a row fairly quickly in a half inning. First two were both overturned. And when he announced that the third one had been challenged, he said, "Let's see if I got this one right."
It is a lot of fun, and I knew it was. Like, I mean, the fans, Bill, like the fans going nuts, and I knew that last spring. I was like, I can't wait till this comes to the regular season. I can't wait. I mean, it doesn't even matter if it's the first inning, but if it's like a walk-off ABS challenge, that's going to be great. But then when I did go to Tempe, it was such a letdown. I don't even know how you survived this spring. Like, you didn't even know what was going on, and then the umpire kept looking out at he didn't know where to look. That was crazy. Are you getting a video board there soon?
Next year, supposedly.
Okay.
I saw there's a few games this year that won't have this in use because, like, the Padres in Mexico, they don't have the technology for that. The Little League game, related game, can't use it there. But I think it's going to be pretty cool.
I love it because it's added not just getting the calls right, but there's this whole new strategic element to it now, to where you're going to have a topic like after the games, like, why did you not challenge that, or why did you challenge that, or you got to the end of the game and you didn't have a challenge because you used it in this spot, or is this guy so bad at challenging that you're not going to let him do it anymore? And all kinds of things that are going to happen. I mean, wait till there's a game that ends like the WBC did on a bad pitch and they can't challenge it because they already used them up. That is going to be a whole other thing. So in our business, we're most interested in what is going to be a good story, something good to talk about, and this creates a whole extra section of stuff that we're going to have to talk about aside from whether pitches were strikes or balls.
Do you guys think that it should be like all the time that the umpire, home plate umpire, who has a lot of other things on his plate, shouldn't even do this? Because I happen to like this because of that, the strategic element, and also like there still is a little bit on the catcher, because you only get the two if you mess them up. But do you guys think it should be all the time?
Bill or Jeff?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is way better than just having the robot call every pitch because I don't think it would be a good thing if the catcher's role was totally minimized and then you wouldn't have to have any skill in receiving. You could just put some big oaf behind the plate and just have him let the ball hit him in the chest and pick it up and throw it back. I think that would not be very aesthetically pleasing.
Well, for people who hate the Dodgers, there is hope because they are dead last in the majors in challenges. Their percentage is the worst in baseball. So maybe that's how everybody's going to catch them this year.
All right. Let's see. Bill talked about him earlier as being the one guy the Dodgers can't lose. How big can you guys kind of give us that sense of just how big Ohtani is for the teams that don't have him? How big is he for the game? We know he's huge for the Dodgers. He was for the Angels. Just for baseball in general.
You notice, obviously, it's always been that way in San Diego, though, when the Dodgers come to town. But you notice for sure that he's big, and certainly, no, that wasn't your question. When you go to Los Angeles, you can see why it is that they are making $1 billion, or a part of why they're making $1 billion. The popularity of this man, but it's just like the WBC, like what's good for baseball and the rising tide lifting all ships. In terms of the business of baseball. It's great. And then the excitement of the home team's crowd, like the chatter that I hear increases, and also the reverence that players have for this guy's talent is something that's rare.
I used to do a little thing when he was with the Angels, and this was when he was pitching like all the time, not just sort of some of the time, like with the Dodgers. And I would take the Angels schedule and I would circle all the days that he was supposed to pitch, like for the next month or so. And it would go out there, and people like in Kansas City would be, oh, I want to know which game I need to buy a ticket to, to see Ohtani pitch. So that's something that really hasn't happened yet with the Dodgers because it's been so limited. But as he gets into this a more regular thing because really you want to see the whole show is to see him pitch. And so that's definitely something that people plan out their schedules to. They want to know like which day he's going to pitch some series like 3 weeks from now.
Bill, have you ever seen anything like that game last year?
It's remarkable. When he came to the Dodgers, I was prepared to be cynical and unimpressed. I can't. It is just remarkable that he does these two incredibly difficult things at elite levels. I know there's always talk that bubbles up, does this mean there are going to be more two-way players and stuff? No, nobody else can do this. I was talking with somebody the other day, some radio interview, and they asked me for a prediction for the season and a crazy prediction. And I said, how about a 50-200 season? 50 home runs and 200 strikeouts as a pitcher. This guy does everything. Why not? Who thought 50-50 was possible 2 years ago? He clearly this year, as Jeff learned to read him for 6 years in Anaheim, I think I'm getting to the point where I can read him a little bit. He clearly is motivated to do something extra special as a pitcher this year. winning a Cy Young would be the ultimate, because then he, could just, I mean, just remarkable to have 4 MVPs, maybe more, and also win a Cy Young while you're doing all of that. So 5,200, try that on for size. If he pitches enough, maybe he can get there. But this guy's one of a kind. He's immensely popular. We see it everywhere we go. The Dodgers now have a revenue stream from tours of the not just the stadium. They have tours of Camelback Ranch going through now that people pay to take. And most of the people that you see, at least at Dodger Stadium, are Japanese fans who have made the trip, made this their bucket list vacation to go to LA, see Ohtani, tour the stadium. It's like the Dodgers have annexed an entire country and, part of a continent to their fan base and their market by signing this guy and really exploiting his popularity to an immense level.
Are they going to let him pitch enough to win the Cy Young?
Probably not, but close. I think it'll be like once a week. It'll average out to once a week. So what's that? 22 weeks, 23 weeks, whatever the season is. So 20 to 25 starts. You figure 6 innings on average. So 120 to 140 innings. I don't think it's enough in a league that still has Paul Skeens. But again, I think we have all learned that you don't underestimate Superman. You don't tug on Superman's cape.
Enjoyed the Jim Croce reference there. All right. Got some questions from readers. I want to get to some of these. And this is for any of you, and this comes from Bruce. How can the WBC be spruced up to get players at their peak? He says spring training isn't ideal as players are still getting in shape. What about, will baseball ever agree to doing it with a longer all-star break, or would a postseason tourney work? Any thoughts?
It just came from there, and I believe that's where it's headed. It certainly seems Mark DeRosa does, and he would like that. He made a lot of comments about his hands being tied, including with the Padres closer. That was true. I can't say that I'm like for it, but other sports do it. It works out. The players clearly want to play in the Olympics. I think that, from my understanding, that'll be something of a test run for it. But that's really the only way, and there's going to be limitations there too, for guys, but they will be built up, and they'll, it would be more optimum to play the knockout stage. You can't take 2.5 weeks off, but to play the knockout stage then.
There will always be restrictions.
Yeah.
No matter when you play it, teams are not going to want their multi-million-dollar assets to be put at risk. So I don't ever see that happening. Shutting down in the middle of the summer, not a big fan of that idea either. As great as it would be on TV, that means 29 other ballparks are empty at their highest peak of their season. How about during the lockout? Maybe the union takes it over and runs one next May, when we're sitting around wondering when the next season's going to be.
Yeah, there's no good time to have this thing that there's not going to be restrictions, because if you do it in the middle of the season, so okay, Tarik Skubal can go 100 pitches. Are the Tigers still going to want him to go 100 pitches and use up a start that they could have, that they're paying him for? It's just not going to happen. And it would be great in some fantasy world where we could do this, but I think that what we got right now is the best we're going to get.
Right.
I don't want it to happen. I think we're forgetting that TV runs this thing, and going with the idea that they would do anything if they make money, and a lot of creative ideas that they have. Personally, I think it's kind of, not that this matters, that I think it's kind of lame. But it's not something that we do outside of hockey and soccer. But I wouldn't rule it out.
All right. Well, I've got Kevin from Thomas. He's asking, how will the change in ownership and maybe the uncertainty so far until it's done affect player moves for the short and long term?
There is a lot of optimism / hope inside the organization that the new owner will come in and want to make a splash. Certainly, whoever the new owner is, and 3 names are out there of these 4. I've heard possibly where the other one is from. We're talking big money, and the 4 of us might have more money. No, we're sports writers, but the current ownership group does not have any. So there is a lot of hope within the organization because it's someone with Peter Seidler's vision, but with actual money, because Peter didn't really have the money, is going to come in and buy this team and change the dynamic for them.
Yeah, when I'm seeing EPL owners on the list, and there's some real money there. All right. From Miguel, this is for Bill. What is the Dodgers' projected rotation at this point?
Well, Yamamoto will start opening day. I think you'll see Glasnow and Emmett Sheehan in the first 3 games. Ohtani won't make his first start until the second series against the Guardians. And then it'll be Sasaki. They'll slip into one of those starts, not sure when. And for now, they have a bunch of off days in the first 3 weeks of the season. So they'll go with 5-man rotation for the time being. And then at some point late, I think it's the April 15-ish, they'll need a 6th starter if they want to keep their guys on the 5-day rest. The Dodgers, more than anyone, don't consider 4 days rest normal for a starter. 5 days rest is the standard that they want for their starters. So that means a six man rotation. So the 6th spot is probably going to be a hybrid thing for a while, with the guys like Justin Robleski maybe getting starts until Blake Snell's ready. So the 6 that they're going to run with for the majority of the season, if things go the way they plan: Yamamoto, Ohtani, Sasaki, Snell, Glasnow, probably Emmett Sheehan.
And on the Dodgers starters front, Bruce asks, why didn't Kershaw at least get on the mound during the WBC? Was it simply just he was there just for the experience?
Yeah, I think that was fairly obvious. Once they got out of pool play, where they kind of overwhelmed some teams, it wasn't going to happen. He was there to pitch a couple innings in a 10-2 game, and they really didn't have that kind of thing. We need internet sleuths to examine that video, what exactly that can that they tossed to him when he was in the bullpen for the last game. I don't know if Kirsch was celebrating with a little adult beverage out in the bullpen, or if that was a Monster Energy drink just to keep himself awake. I don't know.
David asks all of you, when you're covering the team and you're not necessarily just trying to get information for a story, you want to know what it's like spending time down the field, clubhouse with players, coaches, and the manager. Is it a good experience? I remember my days when I'd be out there. I thought it was painful waiting around, but you guys do it far more often than I ever did.
I want to hear Bill's answer on this one first.
Yeah, it's the Dodger way and then everybody else's way. There is no hanging around with Shohei. He and I don't chop it up about the NBA or his favorite video game. The Dodgers, 2 years ago when Shohei joined the team, the other players very quickly realized that the media contingent had grown. There's 30 or 40 of us now. And the media availability time with the players, they find other things to do. It's, that's a good time to go eat, or we're hitting the cage. And Today we were in the clubhouse pregame for our availability. There were three players in the clubhouse. There was Santiago Espinal, Antoine Kelly, and Justin Robleski. So it's difficult to get a lot done. I equate it to the National Geographic shows where you see that certain species of turtles are born on the beach and they emerge from the shell, the egg, and instinctively know which way is the ocean. Players instinctively know when a media availability time is.
Well, the reason I wanted Bill to go is because I think Bill is not having the same experience of those of us that cover the other 29 teams, maybe 28 teams if they exclude the Yankees, maybe. But for the Angels, anyway, like you can go in the clubhouse anytime, and there's usually a few players in there, and you can chat with them. And today I was talking to Brent Suter about golf, and they have a reliever, Sam Bachman, who went to Miami of Ohio University, which is in the conference that I went to college. So we talked about that, and I try to always have enough conversations with the players, casual conversations, so they don't feel like every time I come up to them, I'm just trying to extract information from them and walk away. So there's more of a human connection with them. Same with the coaches and everything like that. And that's what you don't get anymore, Bill. But that's the way it used to go with the other teams too. So
Oh, I
maybe one day you'll
remember.
have that. Maybe one day you'll have that again with the Dodgers.
Yeah, the loitering, the stalking is the worst part, but there's always good guys in clubhouses. It's my favorite part. It's the most important part is building those relationships. Like Jeff said, not making it transactional, but be more than that, just letting them know that like you're always around. A lot of times, and I think it's the same way for Jeff. Like on the road, I'm like off the trips, the only beat writer, and that is a hugely different experience
What?
than Bill is having. And those are great because then more guys are around and they know you and they know how you're going to operate, and that you're only going to take so much time. And then there's of course the guys you could talk to for a half hour because they're great. They don't see any difference between you and them. And then there are, some other guys. But I love talking baseball with these guys, and that is probably the great privilege of the job is to obviously watch the games, but then be able to talk to them. Talking to coaches is always magnificent. I happen to love being there before the game and after the game. I love the groundskeepers. I love all the ballparks. It really is like a fantastic thing to be at the ballpark. Though I will always remind people like there are times that there's a lot of times they don't want to be around me, and I'll remind them sometimes I don't want to be around you. So that's just the reality of the job.
That was a good one. Thanks, guys. All right, Lori asks, and this kind of goes back to the replay assistance on balls and strikes. Is there too much technology? Not enough? Will it hurt the game if we're examining everything? It's always been that very human game, the human error that we talked about. Where are we now compared to where it could be?
Well, I don't have a
Entirely.
problem with
Oh, go.
all the technology. I've always said that. I mean, does any sport have more numbers than baseball? I mean, all we've done is we've just added a whole new set of numbers, spin rate and exit velocity or whatever. I don't have a problem with that. You try to learn how to use it and which ones make the most sense to you. And I've always said that with all the numbers, baseball creates the illusion that it can be quantified. And then something happens where you realize it can't be quantified.
Hmm. That was poetic, Bill. It's so
Thank
true
you.
too. And the numbers are great. I covered baseball in the 90s and we weren't talking WAR. WRC plus. And when I came back, I kind of had to really learn them, and they can be overused, but when you use them to put into context what you're seeing, the numbers are fantastic. The only thing I don't like about the technology, and there's nothing you can do about it, because if you're going to try to get something right, you have to try and get it right, is that for 100+ years, if a guy beat a throw, a tag to the bag, he was safe. And now if he comes off the bag for a split second, then he's out. And that bugs me. It just does. I can't get over it. I probably never will, but I understand there's nothing we can do about it. And if I were a manager, I'd probably want to replay like way more of them than they actually do, because a lot of times guys do come off the bag.
I'm with you. I hate that one. I would like to see them, they do exclude certain things from being reviewable. So I would like for them to maybe retweak the rules so they can't do those when the guy comes off the base by like this much. And I also think, the box on the screen with the strike zone has added this illusion of perfection to umpiring. And now we're going to have less of this with the ABS. But the fact that you can, on the screen, it shows that the ball was like this far outside. And then everybody goes, oh my God, how did he miss that? That was so clearly a half an inch outside. A pitch going 95 miles an hour through an invisible three-dimensional box of air that people just believe that it's supposed to be easy. And I think it was better when we didn't have the box at all. And you go, oh, that looked close, but I guess it's a ball or strike. I don't know. Could have gone either way.
Well, it's kind of similar to the lines that they put on the TV broadcast for football to show the line to gain, which is imprecise. It's one that they just kind of drop in with a machine, and it's not exact, right? It kind of leads to Thomas's question a little bit. He wants to know what differences are there between covering a Major League Baseball team and an NFL team. And Kevin, you've done it. I don't know that Bill or Fletcher, you guys ever done the NFL? I've done it for a bit. What do you think, Kevin?
I measure my answer. I love baseball. I had to grow to love, and I had to learn football, and I ended up really liking it. I covered a team where Phillip Rivers was the dominant personality, and there's not ever been anyone that, and I don't deal in absolutes, but I will say this: there's not ever been anyone that a major sports star as good of a human being as Phillip Rivers, and a guy who said, hey, the media has a job to do. And he set a tone for the entire locker room. So that was fantastic. I suited up every Sunday. I loved that it was one game. Like, it was so huge. And if you lost, I mean, it was 10 baseball games. It was like you'd lost 10 baseball games. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Whereas in baseball, I remember when I was covering the Dodgers in 1997. It was my first year, and they had like a 7-game winning streak in May. And the way I was writing, and this is back when people admitted they read you, and I guess the way I was writing, Joey Amalfitano pulled me aside and goes, "We're not that good. You might want to be careful." And I learned very quickly. They lost like 12 of the next 15, and he was right. It's just that's the huge difference. Like I said at the beginning, the one game a week versus just this thing that unfolds, and that a game in August is, even whatever happens, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I covered a lot of NFL in the 90s when I was working in Palm Springs for Gannett, and that is the number one massive difference. Every game in the NFL is an event. There's no Pirates versus Brewers in June in the NFL. Even the Falcons Cardinals on a random November Sunday is a massive event. And the other thing I would say is the larger rosters are good for sports writers because you have more people, more stories. And with all that dead time between games, you need that. You need to have some stories that you can find.
Yeah, I experienced that even going from covering the NFL with the 53 men, and then covering college team where you got 80 scholarship players. You're always going to be able to find somebody to talk to. It definitely worked. we've got a few more questions and we're going to wrap up pretty soon, but this has been great, guys. Bruce is asking, when will the Padres change their uniform and their hideous uniform colors? Does anybody, and also ask Bill and Jeff, do you think they're hideous?
First off, this is what the Padres were, brown. And I think we're talking about that and not the City Connect, which, by the way, they have new City Connects and they're beautiful this year. But I understand a lot of people don't like those, but they are probably the most popular City Connect jersey in baseball, because not everyone's as old as people on this call, or probably Bruce. I see a lot of kids in those uniforms. Nike is full of geniuses when it comes to that. By the way, brown and gold is beautiful.
Those are the Padres I grew up with. So
Yeah.
that's what I think their uniforms are supposed to look like.
City Connects are great. Just across the board, I'll say the majority of them are fantastic.
Yeah.
The Dodgers are not one of those. They have been so unimaginative and boring. They look like Pop-Tarts, with the frosting and little sparkles on them. Awful. But either the Angels, City Connect, the Padres, so many of them across the league have been great.
Yeah, I grew up, my football team is the Miami Dolphins. If I can embrace those colors, anybody can embrace, and brown and gold looks a lot better than that. Certainly more wearable. Let's see, Bruce got a few of them here. Was asking Fletch, will the Angels go all in on bobbleheads like the Dodgers do?
Oh, I don't know. Are they not already? I mean, they already have a bunch of bobbleheads. I don't know how many they're supposed to have, but they, no matter how bad they are, when they're doing a bobblehead, they sell a lot of tickets. So I imagine they're going to keep doing it.
I remember covering the Angels back in the 90s when they had giveaway nights that were Jim Abbott pillowcase, an Angels shower curtain, and one year they were Band-Aid holders with the Angels logo on it. And the teams weren't very good in those days, so those things gave wonderful opportunities for beat writers to mock both the team and the giveaway at the same time.
And
I do want to compliment Bruce, though, like that on the Dodgers call, because that's amazing how many bobbleheads that team gives away when they don't have to. I have a Manny Machado bobblehead. He was with the Dodgers for 2 months. There was a bobblehead night. The Padres were there. So I have a Manny Machado bobblehead in what's like a Dodger away uniform, I think.
They had a Clayton Kershaw batting bobblehead before the DH became universal. I don't know what the motivation was there, but they did it.
right. And then one of the tricks of the trade questions that I want to ask. On fireworks nights, do baseball writers still write as fast as they possibly can to get out before all the fans are driving out of the parking?
Dodger Stadium, no chance. That is not an option, not a possibility. And when you talk about statistics in baseball, no exit velocity matches that of the players leaving on fireworks night.
The Angels fireworks tend to go pretty quick, so you can't really beat them. But that stadium clears out pretty well. The parking lots, they have a lot of ins and outs to it, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, where I'm parking this year, I might be able to do that, but not as bad as Dodger Stadium, because there has never been anything as bad as Dodger Stadium egress. But yeah, you can't beat it. So you just stay there and you start working on something else. They don't serve beer in the press box anymore, so you just start working on something else.
You mean they used to serve beer in the press box?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we're old enough to remember
There
that.
used to be a bar in the press box. Those were old days. Yeah. All right, guys, this is great. We really want to say thank you to all of you for joining us, and thanks to Kevin, Jeff, and Bill for spending the time. Hopefully the rest of your time in Arizona goes well. You got a long season ahead of you. We really encourage our readers and everybody on here to follow all three of you. We see your handles here. If you're not a subscriber already, I think it's worth it. And definitely, there's some really good coverage that you're going to get for all this season. So subscribe. Thank you guys, and we'll see if maybe we'll do this again sometime. Thanks, everybody.